and welcome to Top of the Grid, the podcast hosted by myself, Amber Jones, and the wonderful Scarlett Archer.
Our guest for today is Alisha Palmowski, and she's going to be telling us about her journey to F1 Academy. Well, Alisha, it's so exciting to have you on this podcast. I mean, I'm so excited for the great chat we're about to have. I mean, when I've researched you, you have done an insane amount of stuff. So I've got to start off about how you first got interested in motorsport.
Yeah, sure. Well, firstly, hello to you both. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I'm super excited. About my motorsport journey, how did it really start? My love for motorsport. It was sort of by fluke how I got involved in motorsport myself. My love sort of just stemmed from my upbringing, and I've always just grown up with the influence of motorsport around me. My great granddad was actually a Brisker F1 stock car racing driver. Wow. And he was Polish as well, actually. So that's where my surname comes from. You can probably tell via my accent that I've got no other link to Poland other than my great granddad. And I never got the opportunity to meet him. But my dad and granddad have always loved motorsport as a result of that, always had Formula One on the TV. So ever since I was a young girl, I've just loved the sport, followed it. And in terms of how I actually got involved myself, it was just by complete accident, to be honest. It was the 6-week holidays from school. I was staying up in Newcastle with my grandparents, and they just thought, oh, what should we do with her, pretty much. I was 8 years old. They were like, we need to find an activity to keep her, busy. And they took me go-karting just at the local indoor track, arrive and drive session, literally 40-mile-an-hour go-karts, nothing special. I'd never even heard of a go-kart. I didn't know what I was doing, didn't know racing lines, but I got hooked instantly, and that's where the journey's really stemmed from.
Well, that's amazing. Imagine if your great-granddad wasn't involved in that, you'd probably not be, where you are today. So Absolutely. It's absolutely amazing, just shoving you into something, to have a go at it has actually led to, such incredible stuff. I mean, it's amazing. And it just goes to show, people ask, how do you get into, being a driver, being a presenter? There's not one way. It's different for absolutely everyone. And there's so many different pathways to, getting into the industry. I mean, it's just, incredible.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, a lot of people obviously think that the only route into motorsport as well is being a driver, which obviously there's so many opportunities being a driver, but equally that's not a route that's available to a lot of people. It's an extremely expensive sport as well. So there's a lot of people who I'd imagine would love to be drivers, but they don't have the opportunity. I'm very privileged the position that I'm in, that I'm able to be a driver. But in terms of the other routes, I mean, you've got presenting, look at you two, how amazing you both are doing. You've got engineering.
Thanks,
love you, Amber.
We love you, honestly.
You've got sort of engineering, mechanicking. Is that a word? Mechanicking? It is now, being a mechanic.
Mechanicking. Made it up.
That's a new one. Sort of being a team manager. There's so many different roles, and it's such a friendly atmosphere, actually, motorsport. Everybody really just wants to help you get involved. So, I'm really fortunate the position I'm in, but it's great to see how many more females are getting involved as well in the sport.
Yeah. I mean, F1 Academy, absolutely amazing. Can you tell us how you were able to climb the motorsport ladder to get there, and any advice maybe you have for people, wanting to go in the same direction?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it feels like I've been racing for my whole life, and it pretty much has been, to be honest. I think this year is my 9th year in motorsport, which is crazy. I mean, I started properly when I was about 9 years old back in 2016, just after that experience I was talking about with my grandparents. I spent sort of 4 or 5 years go-karting, but where it actually stemmed from was literally just my arrive and drive local indoor track. I did that for 2 years, really just on a cheap budget, just as a bit of fun, really. It was totally just a hobby, something to do with parents as well on a weekend. And then from there, I transitioned into the Daniel Ricciardo series, which was a national championship in the UK. So that's where things started to get a little bit more serious. We bought our own go-kart, had our own trailer, went up and down the country. My dad was my mechanic. My mum was there for moral support all the time.
Oh, I love that. All the families involved.
Absolutely, yeah. It's such a family-orientated sport as well, because I know I'm going off on a sidetrack. Sorry, I'm talking forever. But
that's okay. We love it.
Yeah, I know. Because I think sort of teenagers, it's not very common that they spend a lot of time with their parents, I suppose. But I mean, I've definitely seen more of my parents than I have friends across my whole teenage years, really, just because of motorsport. So it's a fantastic sport in that respect as well. But yeah, spent a few years in the Daniel Ricciardo series, had a really successful time, became double junior vice champion in 2020 and 2021. Then I'm just giving you a brief summary overview. I could talk to you for like hours about this, but we'll just quickly go through it.
Well, you've done so much, so genuinely,
I know.
think
I don't know how you
hour.
remember everything.
I know, I'm forgetting now. I'm like, oh my gosh. Then at the end of 2021, that's when my karting career was coming to an end a little bit. I was 15 years old, and which is still really young. But when you're talking karting and cars, that's where you want to be making the transition into cars, because if you look at F1 drivers, I mean they're 19. I mean, I think Kimi Antonelli next year, he's literally 3 weeks older than me, so they're all very young that it comes into it. I managed to win the Ginetta Junior Scholarship, which is a competition where the winner receives a fully funded season to compete in Ginetta Juniors, which I managed to win somehow. That was an incredible experience. Then I spent 2 years in that championship, before then progressing into the GB4 championship, which I competed in last year in 2024. My first year in single seaters, finished second overall. And then for this season, I'm joining F1 Academy with the Red Bull Racing Pepe Jeans Academy program. So that's a lot of information that I've just fired at you both, but that's pretty much a summary of my career today.
We love it, honestly, Alisha, because genuinely you have done so much. And what advice can you give to maybe parents or people obviously wanting to get involved in racing on where can they find like the next, championship, whether it's karting, is it online? Is it social media, to find when they can put themselves in a position to then progress to single seaters or to cars or whatever it is?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first thing to really know is that there's so many opportunities and so many different paths you can go down. There's not one set championship or one set track that you've got to race on or else you won't make it. It's really what's convenient to you or your child. I think as a baseline, obviously a child's got to enjoy it. I think that's the crucial thing. If they're enjoying it, then they naturally will get quicker, gain more confidence, start winning races. Because I know at first I wasn't winning races at all. I was probably midfield towards the back. But my parents didn't panic about that. They just gave me time, let me get used to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say just look at championships at your local indoor or outdoor track, just your local track, pretty convenient, easy. It's not too expensive either. And just track time, just week after week, as much as you're available, just be in the cart. If your child can just be in the cart, then they'll just be progressing and improving, as I say. So, yeah, and it does start off as a hobby, but I think my warning to parents would be that it quickly transitions into a lifestyle. I think there's a lot of sacrifices that go into racing when you start, progressing up the ladder into single seaters, and it starts getting more serious.
And more expensive.
Yes, absolutely. I mean,
definitely.
In terms of money, I don't think we've had a family holiday abroad. It was definitely pre-2016. It was before I started motorsport.
Yeah.
And time as well is a big sacrifice. Any spare time, it probably goes into motorsport. But yeah, my advice to parents pretty much is to just make sure your child's enjoying it and get seat time, really. Just be out as often as possible.
About that transition into karting, then into cars, because you said there's a similarity between the single seaters, but then when you first got in that Ginetta car, it was a test day that you did in 2020. How was that?
Oh wow, you know a lot about me. Look at that. I'd even forgot the year.
I'm your biggest fan. I'm your biggest fan, Alisha.
Yeah, so I'd been racing in the Daniel Ricciardo series from 2018 to 2021. And as I was getting a little bit older, sort of around the 13, 14 years old, it was my dad that started looking at how we could make the transition into cars and where's the right championship to do that, because there's so many different junior championships. How do you know which one's the right one? I was still really enjoying my karting. I was improving. I was sort of on an upwards trajectory, keep improving and progressing. So we wanted to make that transition. And that's where we found Ginetta Juniors, which, I mean, you only need to look at the alumni from Ginetta Juniors to know that it's the place to be, really. Yeah. I mean, the obvious one being Lando Norris, Jamie Chadwick, they came from Ginetta Juniors. So it's an extremely good championship, highly rated championship. And yeah, in 2020, I managed to have this test day. I was 13 years old. It was actually in February, so it's around this time-ish now. And I had no idea what to expect, really. It was a huge step up. It was at Blyton Park, which is Ginetta's own test facility track. And I absolutely loved it and got hooked instantly again. It was pretty much like the same experience that I had when I first went in the kart. But it was majorly different to karts as well. Ginetta Juniors are extremely difficult cars to drive. They're on road tyres, not on slick tyres. So that means that the rear end is extremely loose. So the car control that you need to be able to handle a Ginetta Junior on the limit is excessive. But then again, it's a junior championship. So that's the whole point, really. It's to develop you and to teach you all these basics for when you get into faster cars. that you're equipped with that car control. So I'm not answering your question now. I'm going off on a tangent. I'm coming back. Hold on. But yeah, in terms of the transition, I'd say one of the biggest differences was the weight distribution in the Ginetta Junior, which is even more than the single seater what I'm used to now, with it being a more of a GT car style car thing. Obviously, when you brake, all the weight throws forward. When you accelerate, it throws backwards, left, right as you corner. So you need to think a lot more. I always thought it was a lot more mentally demanding. I always say that karting is pretty much the most physically demanding type of motorsport, up to date anyway, that I've experienced. But when you get into car racing, that's where the mental strength you need becomes a lot higher, because there's just so much more to think about.
Actually, I can relate to that, because we did a day with Ginetta where I hosted sort of a women's day with Ginetta. We went down to the factory, we had a factory tour, we did the sim racing. I was paired with the amazing Alisha, so you were giving me some tips, obviously, with the sim racing. And then the next day we jumped into the cars, and I remember after about 10 minutes I was a little bit physically tired, because, you know, my arms were getting a little bit achy, but nothing like compared to karting. And then I just remember, like, my brain did just start to clock off after about 10 minutes. And then you're not braking in the right marks as well. So then you're just being a little bit, I think, less reactive. And I could just tell, because my brain was slowing, all of my movements were then slowing down. And it is so true. I think I was getting very mentally fatigued. And that was only after 15 minutes. Obviously, I don't do it a lot. That was my first time in a car. So I know if you do it a lot, you'd be a lot better, and it becomes that sort of muscle memory. But yeah, I can feel that, because I really started just towards the end. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm making mistakes now because I'm tired mentally.
Absolutely.
The thing is, it's like your reaction times have to be like that. And it's like you have to be good physically to be able to do it. You know, it's so much pressure on your neck, you know, every part of your body. But then you have to keep your brain switched on. It's like you have to have both in tune. It must
They work hand in hand, 100%.
Yeah, it's so difficult. Oh my gosh.
But being a passenger was terrifying. Alicia, what was that? It was like, when is she gonna brake? When is she gonna brake? She's still not braking. We're going past the corner at this place. Like, what is going on? And then you would brake, and obviously you've got your harnesses and everything is really tight, but you still get thrown so forward that, like, your whole neck comes out, and I'm going through the windscreen. I'm gone. She's
it's like a roller coaster.
Not dramatic at all.
But it was so much fun. But then I spoke to the videographers, and I was like, have you looked at the footage? And they were like, Amber, your face, like, it was fear, excitement, nervousness. It was just everything. You were just like blank for most of it. But it was so cool. It was such an amazing experience. But talk to us about the Ginetta scholarship then. What was that process like?
Yeah, absolutely. I love talking about the scholarship, because I sort of see that as the moment that it changed my life and my career. And everything that's come after the scholarship has been a domino effect. And I wouldn't be sat here now if I wouldn't have won that scholarship all those years ago. So it really was a crucial, pivotal moment in my life and career. But yeah, the scholarship itself, it's a competition where around 60 to 70 drivers enter, and we're all assessed on driving skills, media skills, and fitness skills. Fitness skills, I don't know, is that fitness ability, I should say. That's a bit bad wording, isn't it? Same
that
thing.
Makes sense, yeah.
And there's such a different variety of drivers enter the scholarship. You've got European karting world champions, straight down to drivers who have never even sat in a go-kart before. So huge vary, really. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Huge range in terms of the driver's ability and experience. So we entered it really not with the intentions at all of winning, just as taking the experience, really, and just taking it all in, meeting people, getting the experience to drive the car again, and learning was the key thing, and also enjoying it. And it's a gruesome process, to be honest, really, because there's 2 qualification days and then a final day. And throughout each of the qualification days, around 35 drivers enter, and then about 10 to 15 of the best drivers go through to the final day.
Right.
And then from there, the field just keeps cutting. So you'll go out and do a 15-minute run, and then they'll say, right, you 7, you go home, you're not good enough, pretty much. And then they go for the next 15, and then they lose another 5, and then it's the top 10, top 5. So it was very, very stressful. But we managed to come out as the winner in the end, which was honestly, like, I'm just even beaming now just talking about it. It was the most amazing moment. And that really did give me the opportunity to race in the championship in Ginetta Juniors the year after, because I mean, a year you're looking at around £150,000 to race in Ginetta Juniors. So without that scholarship, I'm not somebody who comes from a particularly wealthy family. I'm literally just a normal girl from Manchester. There's nothing special, really. It's just normal. So without that scholarship, I'd have never, ever even sat in a race car, let alone raced one in Ginetta Juniors. So it really did change my life.
That's absolutely amazing. Like, you go into it, not even thinking that you're going to win it, just, for some experience. I bet also, like, part of it is it just sort of boosted your confidence so much. Because I can imagine, getting into a car, has its nerves in their own way. But then, to have that confidence boost as well, I can imagine that just making you, so much more stronger in the car. It must have been, amazing. And I mean, so thankful, because without that, you probably wouldn't have, reached where you are today. So it'd be amazing if there were more scholarships like that.
I agree totally. And you've hit the nail on the head 100% in terms of the confidence. I mean, the people that I beat, there was literally like, Will McIntyre was there actually. He's in GB3 now, and he pretty much came second. I think it was between me and him in the final shootout. And I think he was a Birrell Art kart factory driver at that stage. And I was just like racing in Italy and in the World Championship finals and all these sort of thing. And I was just like Alisha from Manchester, like just racing in the Daniel Ricciardo series in the UK. I was like, how can I even compete? So to have actually won and beat them, that was really needed for my mental strength, really.
I do feel like you're a very versatile driver as well, Alisha, because, you can do the karting, you can do the car racing, and then also the single-seater. Do you think that most drivers should be versatile, or is it okay just to sort of specialise in, like, I only want to do single-seaters, for example, like I don't want to touch a GT car? Do you think that's okay, or should you try to be versatile?
That's a really good question.
Put you on the spot now.
I know. I think a mix of the two, to be honest. I think it depends what aspect you're looking at it from. Because I mean, obviously, you do specialise naturally in one sort of car. Like I'm at home now in the single seater. I feel like I absolutely love it. I feel like that's where I'm meant to be. But equally, in terms of the adaptability and how versatile you've got to be, I think especially for somebody like me that hasn't got the biggest budget, I'm not a paid driver, I won't be able to just pay my way through the single-seater ranks. You've got to be able to keep your options open. And in terms of the GT car route in motorsport compared to the single-seater ladder is a lot narrower, whereas there's a lot more opportunities in the GT car route. So having the ability to jump from car to car and still be quite quick, I think that's what you need to do really as a professional racing driver. I think that you should be able to jump in any car and be quite decent. So it is something that I do try to do. And it's gone quite well so far. So yeah.
Yeah, it broadens your horizons, I think. And I guess
exactly
in this industry, like we will all know that I think you need to have like more than one skill. So say if there is a dry spell, say if I've not booked any jobs or you've not booked a season or some races, and same for you, Scarlett, then you need to be able to rely on something else. So it's like, okay, well, someone has called me to do a bit of coaching, or someone's called me to, do a one-off race in a GT championship. So you do need to have those skills. Would you do driver coaching? Is that something that you do, or are you going to look into it? Or is it sort of, I'm too busy right now for driver coaching?
Well, a mix of the two again. Definitely something that I'm looking into. I've actually just in the last few months got my ARDS license, so that means that I can officially coach now. So I know I coached you, and that wasn't illegal. It was legal, but it was a bit. I know. I just realised I've just said that I didn't have my license and I went to coach you, but it was a bit different that day.
It was. It was a fun day, but I definitely learned so much. I will say that.
Oh, it was awesome. I loved it. But yeah, that was pretty much my first proper time coaching when I was with you, and it's very, very different being sat in a passenger seat compared to the driver's seat. You know, you're not in control, you've not got the steering wheel in front of you. It all feels a bit alien. It's not natural, but I really loved it, really enjoyed it. I think that was partly down to you, Amber, because you were such a legend. You were rapid.
Thank
made my
you,
job
Alisha.
very easy.
Keep boosting my ego, please. No, you were fantastic. I really thought you were, because, not as if you would get angry, but you never, if I made a mistake or anything, you never got angry. I had a bit of a lockup, and then all this fumes.
The smell.
Oh my gosh, the smoke starts to come through the car, and I thought, oops. And I remember Alejandro afterwards, who works at Ginetta, was like, Amber, don't you break that car. You've had a bit of a lockup. And I was like, no, because I pushed it quite a bit on that one. But you were amazing, honestly. You were like, okay, brake now. Okay, no, you want, more weight to go to the front. And you just said it all in like a technical but quite a simple way for someone that's really new to obviously GT racing. So it was so cool. I thought you were such an amazing coach, honestly. So you can definitely do it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Alisha, one thing that I was going to say is like when you're speaking, it's so clear like you actually have such a passion for motorsports. And I was speaking to Amber the other day. It's like, you have to, like, you can really tell you have it. And I can imagine it would make it so much more difficult to get up, to go training, travel to different places, put in all that work if you didn't have the passion for it. And you can just, see that you have it. And I think that's one of the reasons probably why you excel so much, because it is a super demanding sport, not just on you physically and mentally, but like, sometimes when I miss school, like it's quite difficult. And I can, you're only 2 years older than me. And, sometimes it's difficult if I have to say no to maybe hanging out with my friends or going to like a birthday party or something like that. So did you ever find it difficult, having to do all this training, do all this stuff and maybe, miss out on some things, in your social life?
I think we're living a very similar life, to be honest. Like with everything that you've just said, that's spot on. In terms of my passion for motorsport, absolutely. I always say that I'm just a huge motorsport fan first, and I've just got the opportunity to drive. Ever since I was sort of 5, 6 years old, just watching Formula One. I just love it. I'm a bit of a nerd. I know everything, know every year. I know all my stats. I'm really sad like that, but I just love motorsport.
Not sad at all. We love that.
I know, yeah. We're all legends here. That's how we roll.
We should rename the podcast.
Legends.
I know, yeah, I agree. But yeah, I think in terms of the sacrifices that you have to make and the motivation you need as well, as you say, to get up day after day, drag yourself to the gym. I'm not a fitness freak, so I'm like going to the gym. I'm like, do I have to do that today? Just keeping the motivation going. But it's because of my love for motorsport and how much I really want to exceed and how much I really want to succeed. That's what really drives me. But in terms of the sacrifices, like you say, in terms of time as well, I did my GCSEs back in 2023, and it was so hard, just the amount of time that you're missing from school, that because most test days are on weekdays as well, not on weekends. So I was basically never there. So any free time that I had on weekends, it was spent just catching up on schoolwork, which is really sad, but that's the only way that I could keep on top of it. So I basically never even hardly saw my friends. It was tough, really, but it's my love for motorsport that's brought me through all that, really.
Yeah, I did my GCSEs last year and I was filming during my GCSEs, but I'm a bit like, I kind of procrastinate a bit. So I think it helped me because I wouldn't have revised. I knew that like I only had 2 hours here and that was probably the only time I'd have, that week to revise that subject. So I had to revise during that time. If I had all the time in the world, I'd probably sit there, look at my work, be like, I'll have a cup of tea, do it in a bit. But I knew when I had to revise. So I just did it then. And the other thing I think is like, it was difficult with my friends sometimes because everyone wants to do things on the weekend and I was usually quite busy on the weekends, but you can really tell who your real friends are, I think, because they're the ones that support you and are understanding. So I think, from filming, obviously I'm not as busy as you, but, from filming and missing school, like it was kind of made clear who was actually, supportive of me.
Absolutely,
Definitely.
I totally agree, yeah.
I think it gets obviously more difficult as well as we all progress in our careers and you get even busier. It is difficult to see people and have that social life, and then your work actually becomes your social life, because you meet so many people. You've got loads of team, we've got a big group of crew around us most of the time. So that becomes your like social interactions, really.
It's all about just having a balance, I think, is like the most important thing.
What I found really hard, actually, I totally agree with you, is the lack of understanding about motorsport in a school environment, for example.
Definitely.
From when I was in primary school, really, from when I was 9 years old up until leaving year 11 when I was 16, people just, and even my friends, even my closest friends, they just never really appreciated and understood what it was that I was doing at a weekend, because it's such a niche sport, really, like especially karting and racing that's not Formula One. They just don't really understand it. So that was tough. If I'd won at a weekend, I was on cloud 9 going into school on Monday morning, and then nobody cares and nobody's interested and doesn't have a clue what I've just done. I'm like,
and
it's a bit
People
depressing.
who don't follow the sport, like, it might seem easy to them, if you're not following the sport, all you might see is videos of someone driving and you're like, I could do that. They don't understand how difficult it is and how much it means, to win something. Like, I can imagine it being difficult. It's not their fault because it is, more of a niche sport, and there's not that many, females, especially like younger females who are, karting, and there's more getting into it, but it can be hard to understand because on the surface it just seems like a bit of fun, going go-karting with your friends. They don't realize how much skill it actually takes.
They always have that comment of, oh, but it's just cars going round in circles. And
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah, and it's like,
oh.
oh, well, my mum drove me to school this morning, so how hard can it be? I'm like, oh, it's a bit different. It's not exactly the same.
But have you ever had, I guess you said people at school, you know, didn't really care as much. Did people sort of not treat you differently, but because it wasn't seen as, you know, a female sport, it's been a male dominated sport, and it still is, but we are changing that, thankfully. Did you ever have it like, oh, but why are you doing motorsport? Was there ever any of that?
A little bit, to be honest, yes. I always hear a lot of stories about sort of young females in the sport, you know, young females who are driving, about bad experiences that they've had or how people have treated them differently at race circuits. And I can't say that I've ever actually had that at a racetrack within the motorsport arena itself. But when I've been at school, I think that's the main place where it's come from.
Yeah.
Just most of the lads in my class really just going, oh, 100% we'd beat you. Of course we would. And just all this all the time, just, you know, just nagging and chipping. And it's like, oh, there's just no need. And it's just, I'm guessing it's just because I was a female. I don't know whether they'd do it to each other. But it's such a niche sport anyway. So even if I was a boy, I think there'd be an element of that just because of how rare it is. But yeah, that was tricky. But I think going back to what you said before as well, in terms of how your social life becomes motorsport as well, because the people that you're surrounded by are people with the mutual love for motorsport, as we all have ourselves. So that's why we get on with them so well. So yeah, I just tried to ignore it really, to be honest.
When you were racing in GB4, and I was like, she's always getting great positions here. Like, she's really showcasing her talent. And then obviously to be the vice champion as well, you're just showcasing this is not a sport at all that has to be based on gender. It's so irrelevant. And we do need to sort of break that boundary. I do understand that it has been for years and years and years male dominated. So that's why there will, of course, be more boys and more men. But we are getting, you know, more people involved, more females involved, from presenters, the engineers, marketing, racing drivers. I think we're seeing this massive shift now. Is it due to social media? Is it due to more opportunities? Is it because we're talking about it a little bit more? But I do want to see more women racing, and we are seeing that. So that's what I'm so thankful for. But speaking about amazing females, F1 Academy. Alisha, when that news dropped, I was like, oh my gosh. I messaged your mum, I messaged you, I was like, share it on all my social media. I was like, she's going to be at F1 Academy.
Fangirl.
Crazy.
Thank you so much.
I am a fangirl, I really am. Oh my gosh. So how did that come about?
Yeah, so I mean, what an opportunity, like this next year that I've got. I'm with the Red Bull Racing Pepe Jeans Academy program. So it's not just that I'm racing in the championship, but I've got the opportunity to join and work with a Formula One team, and not just any Formula One team, Red Bull Racing. They're multiple world champions. Obviously, the amount of knowledge and experience they've got is huge. I've only been with them for sort of 3 to 4 months currently, but I can honestly, genuinely say that in those 3 to 4 months that I've been with Red Bull, I've learned more than I have in the last 9 years of my motorsport career. So from a driver development sort of mindset, it's totally going to help take me to the next level in terms of my driving ability.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm waffling now. What were we on about? The Qatar race weekend. That's what we were on about. Yeah, so I got selected for the to race in Qatar in F1 Academy as the wild card. So not with Red Bull. This was pre the Red Bull announcement came out. But it was just as a wild card, just to experience one race weekend and just get the experience under your belt really, and suss it all out. I actually found out on my 18th birthday as well that I was going to be the wild card. That's when the news came in.
Present.
So
what
I know.
A
so
present.
It was amazing. I was like, oh my God, like just totally wasn't expected. To be honest, it was a difficult weekend. I mean, the experience itself was incredible. I mean, you'll know yourself, Scarlett, obviously, and yourself, Amber, both of you. The F1 paddock is just incredible. Like being just such a huge Formula One fan since I was 4 or 5 years old, walking into even just the support paddock, walking into the F1 paddock, looking round, seeing everybody. It was just like a dream come true. It was incredible. I actually went on a track walk as well because I was racing with Prema. So I went on a track walk on Thursday with Kimi Antonelli and Ollie Behrman. And it's like, who does that? Like, this is just crazy. It's not
How cool. You're there, like, right, I've made it, guys.
I was like, this is mad. But yeah, in terms of the driving itself, it was a big step up compared to anything that I've been used to. I'd say that the track evolution was a big factor that I probably underestimated a little bit. I'll give you an example. I think we were first out on track on the Friday for practice one. The track wasn't I wouldn't say it wasn't grippy, but it wasn't amazing. And then fast forward, I think it was a 6-7 hour break before we did FP2, but we went straight out on track after F1 had done their practice session. And we literally went 2 seconds a lap quicker just because of the rubber that they'd put down. And it's like 2 seconds. I mean, in reality, 2 seconds is nothing, but in motorsport, that is huge.
Everything.
So it was a big learning curve for me. We struggled with the car a lot as well. We were having extreme understeer to extreme oversteer, so I never really got it in a window where I was happy and comfortable with it. But still, I've learnt a lot, and it's pinpointed the areas that I need to work on and my weaknesses. So I've already been working with Red Bull in the sim, making sure that we address those ahead of this season so that I'm a stronger driver and ready to fight for a championship, really. So super excited.
Amazing.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to just watch you out there. Can I come with you every weekend? I'll fly out wherever.
Yeah.
No, you are such a great driver, because I think looking at your whole career, there have been, times where you might have struggled slightly or had a weakness and you come back even stronger. That's the thing, with Ginetta, with single-seaters, karting, whatever it is, if there's ever been a mistake, an error, something's happened from a mechanical point of view and it's not gone your way, you've always come back stronger. And I think that's probably what most drivers should take from you. Like looking at Alisha, what should you learn from her? You make a mistake, you come back even stronger the next time.
Learn from it.
Yeah,
absolutely. 100%. Thank you very much as well.
No, honestly, you're a fantastic driver.
You know what's amazing is you say, you've learned so much in just a couple of months. So the wealth of knowledge you're going to have, throughout the season as it goes on. I mean, you're going to be even more incredible when the season's over. You're going to be on fire.
I hope so. I mean, the calibre of drivers, obviously, that Red Bull have, it's the best in the world. I mean, the data that they've got from the simulator in I said that funny then. I was going to say sim and then I wanted to say simulator, so I just went simulator. The data they've got is incredible, so I can literally compare my laps up against Max Verstappen if I want to. So it's crazy the amount of data that they have, and the whole support network as a whole. From a fitness element, from the media side, they're helping me under every banner really of what's needed to be a racing driver. So super excited.
You're definitely in the place where you need to be. And to finish this all off, we have got a really fun little segment of the podcast, which is this or that. So I'm going to be doing more like, practical, non-motorsport this or that, and Amber's got the motorsport ones to throw in there.
I'm really
motorsport questions.
No, they're fine. They're so much fun. You're going to see. See, my first one is sweet or savoury?
Savoury.
Savoury.
I'd go.
I'd go with savoury.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
Depends on the day.
Well, true. But I'm not really a sweet. Not a sweet.
I like savoury.
Really. Yeah. We'll go with that.
Okay, my first this or that is karting or car racing.
Car racing, I think, because I was going to say because it's easier. No, it's not. That's not true. But I just feel more at home in cars. I think it's where I like to be. It's where I feel I belong. So yeah, car racing.
My next one is Instagram or TikTok.
Oh, that's tough. That depends what time of day. Like if it's nighttime, I'll just scroll through TikTok. But I'd say Instagram, because that's where I get my information from. Like I stalk people, and I'm not a stalker. I shouldn't have said that. That's bad. I mean, like you just know what's going on, and you can see where
gotta
people
watch
are,
out for Ellie. She's gonna be stalking everyone.
Oh God, that's not good. Oh well. Yeah, Instagram.
You're like, take that out. Don't put that in the podcast.
Literally.
Instagram, my next one is Hamilton or Leclerc.
Oh,
the Ferrari boys.
Oh, that's tough. I think I'll have to go with Hamilton. Yeah, because he's British, and I loved him throughout. Like when he joined Mercedes, and I did follow him for a long time. And I'm really excited to see that next year, though. No, it's this year, isn't it? It's not next year. It's this year. Buzzing.
I'm terrified. Could it be like the best thing ever to happen for Ferrari, or could it be the worst thing? We don't know.
I'm so excited. I know. So excited.
I know, me too. But yeah, Hamilton, I'd say Hamilton. But I like Leclerc, I'm a fan.
My next one is dining out or ordering in.
Oh no. It depends what mood I'm in. I think it depends if I'm dressed or not. Because getting dressed is like a big project. Like it takes effort to get ready.
It's a chore.
I know a lot of girls really like getting ready, and I just don't. I'm like, it's just such a hassle. I'm like, so if I've already been out in the day or I'm ready, then yeah, eat out, love that, dine out. But if I'm in my pajamas, just want to stay like that. Just put the traitors on,
Yeah.
eating.
The
Traitors.
traitors.
Yeah.
And you can't beat a good takeaway, get your dressing gown on, you have a
Yeah,
nice
exactly.
shower.
I
You
haven't
love
answered
a
your
good
question, have
takeaway.
I? So I'd say probably, eating, takeaway, because it's just easier.
McLaren or Aston Martin?
Oh, that's tough.
Because this could be F1 or this could
Yeah, I
be
know.
automotive.
I think I'd have to go McLaren, because why do you not agree? Oh God, you're
No,
like,
I,
oh,
I don't know. Because my two favourite cars are
Yeah.
McLaren 720S or the Aston
yeah.
Martin Valkyrie. So I'm like, I
Mm,
don't know which
I
one I
think I'd
pick.
go McLaren because I mean, if you look at Formula One, obviously they're a stronger team at the moment. But yeah, I love McLaren road cars as well. Like I love McLaren
They're so
P1 and all
cool.
that. Yeah, they're really the orange. Like it's just cool. I like it. But then again,
Yeah.
Aston Martin's James Bond, and that's cool. But no, we'll go
Exactly.
McLaren.
It's hard. That's a difficult one,
It
Amber.
is. That's
It
good.
is, isn't it? I know. I was there like, oh God, what would I pick? I don't even know.
My one is city or countryside.
City, 100% hands
City.
down. Yeah. I don't know why. I just like the vibe. Like countryside. I don't get scenery. You know, when people take pictures of scenery, I'm like, when do you ever go back through your camera roll and look at all those pictures
I
that you've
do
taken?
that.
Do
I
you?
do it.
Why?
I love it. Anywhere
get
that's
it.
nice, I take millions of pictures of.
But then do
don't
you
get
look
it.
back at the pictures?
Yeah, all the time.
But that's
I
just
wish I did that more, but yeah, my whole storage is just clogged up because I actually never go back and look at anything. It's just there now.
exactly.
I like making
Yeah.
little collages. Like if I go somewhere, I take nice pictures and I make collages, and then I like putting them onto cards and then sending them to the people that I was with.
That's just effort, that is. Yeah, I wouldn't even bother.
Alisha, thank you so much for being on the podcast. It's our new podcast. We're so excited and it's been a pleasure to have you on. Good luck for the rest of the season and all the things that you're going to be doing this year. But it's been a pleasure talking to you. So thank you so much, Alisha.
Thank you so much to both of you. I've absolutely loved it. So I'll see you all soon.